shit. Here we go again.
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome back once again. Today we're going to be taking a look at an interesting new knife made by Rikeknives. This is the RK-Shadow that's available through Ketuo USA in partnership with them. And as I did the unboxing of the Ketuo knives that arrived to me a few weeks ago, I had mentioned that this was unbelievably smooth, very, very easy to flip, incredible action, and it had a rather unique feature that I wanted to explore a little bit further when I got to doing the actual review. And that is this rear cover here. I just forgot how to open. Let's see. It's probably easier just to pull it like that. And one of the things that I had mentioned was I wanted to try to find information that may have led to being able to disassemble the knife a little more easily. Because as you see, once this cover comes off, this all swivels open, and I was assuming that maybe it had a certain setting where this would basically pop out of the slot, and that's not the case. You do have to remove the screw there that holds in the pocket clip, and that screw goes all the way through to the pivot. So you will need a Torx in order to be able to disassemble the knife. It's not a completely toolless disassembly like I had thought that it might have been. Get this back together. Regardless, this is a really, really slick way of making a knife. Make sure that's all locked up. Because now what you've got is a standard construction frame lock with a titanium shell over it that makes it look and feel like it's a much more expensive integral. Oh, but that action. Oh my goodness. I have really, really been enjoying myself with this knife. Another thing that I had mentioned was that I was really iffy on the pocket clip because I'm the kind that if it's a tip down carry, especially on a flipper, that's usually 100% no-go for me. And the way that they milled this, it looked like it was going to be way, way, way too stiff to get in and out of the pocket easily. Luckily, that's not the case. I have tried this with jeans. I have tried it with shorts. I've tried it with various thicknesses of pocket lips. And while it takes a little bit more of a concentrated effort to get it in than some other knives, it's not impossible. It will pop in there, and it stays in very securely. I didn't have an issue with it slipping up at all, no matter what I was doing. Worked very, very well. Now, I still have an issue with any knife that's built with the clip up here for the tip-down orientation. It's just a personal thing for me. It's really hard for me to get past that. However, the rest of this knife is so incredibly made. It feels so futuristic in its design and the way that it actually feels in the hand that I have a really, really hard time putting it down. Another thing that I really love is the way they've done this thumb stud. Normally we say thumb studs because it's a pair. It's usually two individual pieces that are either press fit or screwed into each other onto the blade. And this one is one solid piece, so it's like an integral thumb stud. And it gives it a wildly unique look, and it's still very functional. So if you want to reverse flick it, you want to thumb flick it, if you want to slow roll it, it does everything. Plus, of course, you have the flipper tab as well. And the real main attraction here is going to be the action 1000%. It feels so silky smooth. It's like it's just gliding. You don't feel bearings rubbing on any surfaces. Nothing. It's wildly smooth. It almost has that hydraulic feel as it closes, because as you see, it doesn't completely drop free under its own weight. It takes just a little tiny bit of effort. So it's a slower, controlled close. It feels really, really good. Very reminiscent of the tremendously more expensive Rockstead knives. Now, while we're talking price, this is obviously not a $1,000 plus Rockstead. You're looking at $395 for these. You can order them directly from Ketuo USA. I will put their website information here on the screen. And there's going to probably be several dealers that will have access to the Shadows where you'll be able to purchase from maybe your favorite established retailer. Everybody has their preferences. So the overall construction on this is the entire knife is titanium. So the inner frame is titanium, the pocket clip, and this clamshell that goes over the back. And then you're looking at Bowler M390 for the blade steel, which, yeah, we're very, very accustomed to hearing Bowler M390. That has become incredibly popular over the past few years with a wide variety of brands, no matter where they come from, whether they're China made like this or really it doesn't even matter anymore. M390 has pretty much taken over the market for these high-end premium yet still somewhat affordable knives. I can tell you right now, if this was made by almost any other brand with this amount of very intricate CNC work, with the way that this cover was fitted, with the finishes that are on it, all the things that were done here, this would be tremendously more expensive. So I think keeping it just under $400 is a really, really nice price range. This is going to feel like really janky editing, but I apologize. I realized as I closed out the video that I forgot to do the side-by-side comparison to the next closest knife on the market, which also happens to be made by Rike. And I showed this in the unboxing when I unboxed the Shadow. But I do want to give you that comparison in case you own a lamella and you're thinking to yourself, well, how close is it to the lamella? Is it something I'm going to want if I own a lamella? You probably will, because you've got a more traditional shape knife. Definitely fits the hand more traditionally than an overstyled Persian does. And you've got the same idea where you have the look of an integral because you have this titanium clamshell that goes over the functioning knife. However, this being from last year, they had not quite perfected the locking procedure. So when you want to open the clamshell on this, you have to take a little tool, a little screwdriver or something, and you have to unlock it from the inside so that you can take this off. Now, I'm not going to do that here because I don't have any of those tools up here in my studio right now. However, you can go back and revisit my Rike Knives Lamella review, right? I had the full review and I did the disassembly. I don't know why that was so difficult to say. And I broke the knife down, and it gives you an idea of the comparison between the two. The actions are very, very similar. This one has a slightly heftier blade, so it feels just a little bit different. But if you've handled a lamella or you own a lamella, this is going to feel a lot like the action, except the flipper tab is not quite as sharp on your finger. It's a little bit easier to access. So anyway, I did want to make sure that I got the side-by-side comparison done for you, because most people that know of the existence of the lamella, once seeing the RK-Shadow, are going to go, well, how similar are they or how different are they? There is your comparison. I tend to reverse flick the lamella more because it's got this really large fuller groove on it, and it makes it easier for me to open. I can certainly open this the same way. And side-by-side size comparisons, this is just a little bit smaller than the lamella. Lamella is very long and lean and elegant. And this is a little bit chunkier. Definitely does it have more weight to it? Yeah, by just a little bit. The Shadow is just a little bit heavier than the Lamella, but not by a huge degree. So there is going to be that difference there. So if you're a fan of the Lamella, you're most likely going to really enjoy the Shadow as well. I'm not going to do my typical TLDW with the pros and cons, because really 98% of this knife is all pros. The only con I have for it really is the clip placement. That's always going to be an issue for me, no matter who makes it, how much it costs. Custom production, doesn't matter. Tip down carry is just a deal killer for me. But I will admit this, after carrying it for now just about a week and a half, it's really, really been nice in the pocket. The only time I'm going to reach in that pocket is to grab it right here and pull it straight out so that I can get it open. All right, let's go ahead and get into the specs so you can get a better idea of the size of this knife. It's going to feel a little bit, I don't want to say it feels larger than it is, but because of the thickness, it's got some bulk to it. So it does feel quite substantial. Does not feel lightweight and wimpy in any way, shape, or form. You're looking at overall length of 8.66 inches, blade length of 3 and actually just about 3 3/4, 3.74 inches, with 160 thou thick blade stock of Bowler M390, everything 6A04V titanium, and the weight is 5.64 ounces. So yeah, it's definitely got some heft to it. It's substantial. You know you've got something in your hands. It's not a little featherweight little knife. Let me give you some close-ups here so you can see all the details of this build. It's gorgeous. Beautiful flat face pivot. Actually, very, very slightly proud, and then it's beveled around the outer edges. Then you have that anodized blue titanium pivot collar. See that beautiful integral thumb stud there again, screwed in from the back side of the blade. Even the way that they have made the blade gives you these really interesting milled lines that go along with the whole theme of the design. So everything is very angular. It's very three-dimensional. You have raised areas, and you have lower areas, and you have flat areas. So it's got a very interesting topography to the overall handle. And it's not uncomfortable. You would think with all of these angles and all of these different bevels and things on there, that there may be some harsh points, and there really aren't. It's actually really, really comfortable in the hand. It's got a nice shape to the back spine. Fits very well with the hand. Then you've got a nice thumb depression here and a little bit of jimping on the blade. The jimping is not sharp in any way. It's very, very slick. They really could have gone without jimping, in my personal opinion, because if you're not going to make it super effective, then it's not really worth even doing at all. And I do have a hard time figuring out which way I prefer to deploy this, because I find each and every different way satisfying in its own way. The flipper tab works great. Even though it's a really tiny flipper tab, you've got just the right amount of jimping. Your finger grabs onto it nicely. It's not overly jimped. It's not sharp at all, but it's just enough to grab your skin. Then that thumb stud, super easy to get to, whether you like to flick with your thumb or flick with your finger from the backside. And I love the fact that you have this cutout window here. The blade just drops right into it. Overall, it kind of looks like a spaceship in some way. And, I mean, all the angles, so friggin' cool, so sweet. Really love how much work they put into the overall design. I just really wish the clip could be back here. Now, it's not, because they have to have a way for you to be able to slide the cover off to disassemble the frame. And it would be really hard to mount a clip onto this very, very thin titanium that you see here. There, by the way, is your liner lock. And the knife does operate when the cover is off. Obviously, there's no stability to it, and it wants to kind of slide open like this, so you certainly would never want to do that. But it is a fully functioning liner lock on its own, and then this adds the additional degree of stability. Get that locked into place. Lock that down, and you're tight and secure. Overall, this was a big surprise. I knew I liked it from looking at it. I thought the design was super slick. But once I had seen the tip-down carry clip, it really turned me off. But now that I have it in my hands and I've had a chance to carry it, I've had a chance to play with it for a while, I gotta say, I am super impressed with the overall build quality, the finish work, the machining that's been done on it, and the action. Everything about this is seriously, seriously impressive. And I could very easily see a custom knife being made like this and costing over $2,000. And yes, it does remind me quite a bit of a GTC. Gus Zucchini would start at around $2,200-$2,300 for a knife like this, but he wouldn't be doing the integral style cover. It would either be an integral or it wouldn't be. So you do get a really great sense of value when you put this in your hands and you feel it and you look at the finishes inside and out, by the way. Let's pop this open one last time. I mean, there's no imperfections in the knife or the machining anywhere. It's beautifully done. They've done a nice vapor blast across all the surfaces, so you have this really matte, non-reflective kind of finish to it. All I'm doing right now basically is spreading the oil across the blade so it looks streaky. My apologies. And this really is one of my favorite finishes. It's very industrial looking, which goes with the overall theme of the design, really. Let's get that back on there. Come on. Oops. It's a little harder to do when you're looking through the camera. Oh, you do want to make sure everything's lined up before you go trying to close that. Lock it back down, and then it cannot open back up unless you unlock it. And there she is, the RK-Shadow. Super sexy, super slick, and definitely one of the biggest surprises of the year for me personally. I did not think I was going to like it as much as I do, and I'm very, very impressed. I hope you guys were as well, and I will see you on the next video.